The Galactic Naval Academy floated in the darkness of space like a metal flower. It was huge, bigger than any city on Earth. Cadets from 32 different alien species lived and trained inside its walls. They came from worlds with purple skies and worlds with 3 suns. They came from planets of ice and planets of fire. All of them wanted to become officers in the galactic fleet. Had been at the academy for 6 months. He was a young man from Korea, Earth. He was not tall, he was not strong. He had a gentle face and quiet eyes. He liked to read books about stars and learn new languages. He could speak 11 alien languages already. His teachers said he was smart, but smart did not matter much at the academy. What mattered was strength. What mattered was fighting. Was not good at fighting. On that day he was in Training Bay 9. It was a large white room where cadets practiced combat. The floor was soft so that bodies would not break when they fell. The walls were white. The lights were bright. Everything was clean and cold. 3 cadets walked into the room. There were tall aliens with scales that shone like rainbows. They had 4 arms instead of 2. They were strong enough to break rocks with their bare hands. Their species had conquered 12 star systems before joining the Galactic Compact. They were proud. They were cruel. And they did not like humans. The biggest was named. His father was a noble on the, had never been told no in his entire life. He looked at the way a cat looks at a mouse. Human said, his voice was deep and rough. We need someone to practice with, you will help us. Knew what this meant, it was not practice. It was pain. He tried to step back toward the door. But the other 2 were already behind him. They blocked his way out. I do not want trouble, said softly. Please let me go. Laughed, it was an ugly sound. Let you go, but we just started having fun. The first punch came fast. His fist hit his face like a hammer. The young human flew backward and crashed onto the training mat. Blood came from his nose. Red blood, warm blood, human blood. Above the training bay was an observation deck. It was a balcony where other cadets could watch and learn from fights below. Today, many cadets stood there watching. There were with their shining scales. There were with their gray skin and 4 eyes. There were species with wings and species with tails and species with no faces at all. They saw Fall. They saw the blood on his face, and some of them started to laugh. Tried to stand up. His legs were shaking. His vision was blurry, but he stood anyway. He always tried to stand. Hit him again, this time in the stomach. Bent over and fell to his knees. He could not breathe. The pain was everywhere. More laughter came from the observation deck. The aliens found it funny. This small human, this weak creature, trying to stand when he should stay down, bleeding so easily, breaking so fast. It was entertainment to them. Look at it, someone said from above. It bleeds like water from a broken pipe. Humans are so fragile, another voice added. Why did the compact even let them join? Grabbed by the collar and lifted him off the ground. His feet dangled in the air. He weighed nothing to the. Do you know why humans will never matter? Asked. He brought his face close to us. Because you are small, you are weak. You have no claws, no scales, no strength. You are prey, and prey does not become predator. He threw across the room. The human boy hit the ground and rolled. More blood came from a cut on his head. It mixed with tears on his face. He was crying now. He did not want to cry, but the pain was too much and the shame was too heavy. 2 instructors stood at the edge of the training bay. One was, they watched everything, they did nothing. Their faces showed no concern. Humans were new to the galaxy. Humans were weak. What was one more broken human boy? Walked toward slowly. He was enjoying this. The other 2 followed him. They kicked when they passed him, just for fun, just because they could. Stay down, said. Stay down and this will end. Looked up at him. Blood covered half his face. His body screamed at him to stop. Every part of him hurt. But something inside him refused to quit. Something stupid. Something human. He tried to stand again. The observation deck exploded with laughter. They could not believe it, this broken thing, this bleeding creature, still trying to rise. It was the funniest thing they had seen all year. Shook his head, "You do not learn." He raised all four arms. The next hit would break bones. The next hit might kill. Closed his eyes and waited for the end. The punch came. It was like being hit by a ship. His body flew through the air and landed on the mat with a wet sound. He did not move after that. He could not move. Everything was darkness and pain. Above, the laughter continued. They made jokes. They placed bets on how long he would be in the medical bay. They did not care about the boy bleeding on the white floor below. No one noticed the small light blinking on his wrist. It was a biosensor. Someone had given it to him months ago. Someone who worried about him. Someone who was about to receive an emergency signal. 3 decks below, that signal reached its target. And everything was about to change. Was working 3 decks below when her wrist started buzzing. She was sitting in a small room full of computers, running tests on combat systems. It was boring work, but she was good at it. Numbers and machines made sense to her. They followed rules. They did not lie. She looked at her wrist and saw the alert. His biosensor was screaming, heart rate critical, blood pressure dropping, location, training bay 9. Did not think, she just moved. She ran through the metal corridors of the academy. Other cadets jumped out of her way. They had never seen a human run like that before. Her feet hit the floor like drumbeats. Her breath came fast and hard. Her black hair flew behind her like a flag. 4 minutes and 12 seconds. That was how long it took her to reach Training Bay 9. 4 minutes and 12 seconds of pure fear. The doors slid open. Stopped, her heart stopped. Everything stopped. Lay on the white floor like a broken doll. Blood pooled around his head like a dark red halo. His eyes were closed. His body was still. 3 stood over him, their 4 arms crossed, their faces full of satisfaction. Above, in the observation deck, a crowd of alien cadets watched with amusement in their eyes. For one moment could not move. The scene burned itself into her mind. She knew she would see it in her dreams for the rest of her life. The blood, the laughter, the boy who looked so much like her little brother back home. Then the moment passed, and something cold settled into her chest. Walked into the training bay. Her boots made loud sounds on the floor. Each step was slow and steady. Her face showed nothing. No fear, no anger, just calm, terrible calm. The laughter above started to fade. One by one, the aliens noticed the human girl walking toward the. She was small, so small compared to them. Her head barely reached their chests. She looked like a child next to giants. Turned to face her. All 4 of his arms spread wide in a gesture of amusement. His rainbow scales caught the light and sparkled. "Another human," he said. His voice dripped with fake pleasure. "How delightful. Have you come to collect your broken toy?" The observation deck laughed again, but it was weaker this time. Something about the girl made them uncertain. Something about the way she walked, the way she did not look afraid. Ignored, she walked past him and knelt beside. Her hands moved with practiced care. She checked his pulse, still there, weak but there. She checked his breathing, shallow but present. He was alive, barely. She pressed a button on her wrist communicator. Her voice was flat and cold. "Medical emergency, Training Bay 9, human cadet in critical condition. Send help now." Then she stood up. She turned to face. She looked up at him without blinking. Was 22 years old. She was born in a city by the sea in Korea. Her family had built ships for generations. First wooden ships, then metal ships, then starships. Her grandfather had built the first Korean vessel to leave Earth's solar system. Her mother had worked in the orbital shipyards above Luna until her hands bled. Her father had been a cargo ship captain. He died when was 9 years old. Pirates attacked his ship near the edge of human space. He fought back. He saved his crew. He did not save himself. Grew up knowing what sacrifice meant. She grew up knowing that some things were worth fighting for, some things were worth dying for. Reminded her of her little brother. Same gentle eyes, same quiet voice, same stubborn spirit that refused to quit. When she saw him at the academy, lost and scared and alone, she promised herself she would protect him. She had failed once, she would not fail again. "You," she said too, her voice carried across the training bay. It was not loud, but everyone heard it. "Training combat rules. Section 7, Article 3. I challenge you." The entire observation deck went silent. The laughter died like a flame without air. Stared at her. For the first time, confusion crossed his scaled face. "What did you say?" "I challenge you," repeated. "One-on-one. No weapons, fight until one of us yields or cannot continue. Those are the rules, you know them, everyone knows them. I am making a formal challenge. You cannot refuse." She was right. Section 7, Article 3 was clear. Any cadet could challenge any other cadet to formal combat. The challenged party could not refuse without losing all rank and honor. For a noble son like, refusal was impossible. Looked at her like she had gone insane. Then he started to laugh. It was a real laugh this time, full of genuine amusement. "You," he said between laughs, "you want to fight me. Little human girl, I just destroyed a boy twice your size. What chance do you think you have?" Did not smile, she did not frown, her face remained perfectly calm. "Accept or refuse, choose now." The other two exchanged nervous looks. Something about this felt wrong. The girl was too calm, too still, like a snake before it strikes. But saw only a small human female. He saw easy prey, another toy to break for the entertainment of his peers. "I accept," he announced loudly so everyone could hear. "Let the record show that I, of house, accept this challenge. When I break you, little human, I want everyone to remember it." Nodded once. She turned to the two instructors who still stood at the edge of the bay. They had done nothing to help. They would do nothing to help her, but they would follow the rules. "Begin the combat protocol," she said. It was not a request. The instructor hesitated for a moment. Then he activated the combat zone. A blue light surrounded the fighting area. The system was now recording. Whatever happened next would be official academy record. Medical personnel arrived for. They lifted his broken body onto a floating stretcher. As they carried him past, she reached out and touched his hand. "I will handle this," she whispered. "Rest now." Then she turned to face. She raised her hands into a fighting stance. Her feet shifted into position. Her eyes locked onto her enemy. The instructor's voice echoed through the bay. "Combat authorized. Cadets ready, begin." Charged, all four arms reached for her. He was fast, so fast that most species could not even see him move. But was not most species. She was human, and humans had been fighting things bigger and stronger than themselves since the beginning of time. There were hunters. On there they had been the top of the food chain for millions of years. Nothing could match their speed. Nothing could survive their strength. They had 4 arms that could crush bone like paper. They had scales that could stop blades. They had conquered 12 star systems because no one could stand against them. Was one of the best fighters of his generation. He had never lost a match. He had never even been hurt in a match. When he charged at, he was already thinking about how quickly this would end. Maybe 3 seconds, maybe 2. He was wrong. Did not try to block his attack. She did not try to run. Instead, she did something no expected. She moved forward. At the last moment before 4 arms could grab her, dropped low and slid across the smooth floor. She passed under his reaching hands like water flowing around a rock. Her elbow shot upward and struck the back of his knee, not the front where the scales were thick. The back, where the scales were thin, where the nerves gathered. It was a spot she had studied for 3 months. She had read every medical text about bodies. She had memorized every weakness, every soft point, every hidden nerve. Stumbled, it was small, just a tiny loss of balance, but it was enough. was already behind him. Her fist hit the base of his spine, right between two scale plates, another nerve cluster, another weakness. The observation deck was completely silent now. No one laughed. No one spoke. Every eye watched the impossible scene below. Spun around with a roar of anger. His upper right arm swung its head. If it connected, it would crack her skull like an egg. She ducked. The arm passed over her head close enough to move her hair. Her palm struck his elbow joint from below. The angle was perfect. The pressure was perfect. Something in his arm made a cracking sound, not broken, but damaged. He howled and pulled the arm back. "What are you?" he snarled. Did not answer. She was too busy surviving. The fight continued, attacked again and again. He was fast and strong and furious. His three good arms blurred through the air like weapons. He kicked. He grabbed. He tried everything he knew. Took damage. A lot of damage. His fist caught her shoulder and she felt something snap. One of her ribs cracked when his knee found her side. Blood ran from a cut above her eye, turning half her vision red. But she did not fall. Every time he hit her, she hit back. Every time she staggered, she found her balance again. Every time he thought she was finished, she proved him wrong. The aliens watching did not understand. They could not understand. How was this small creature still standing? How was she hurting a warrior? It made no sense. The laws of nature said she should be dead. But the laws of nature did not account for what humans were. Humans were not the strongest species. They were not the fastest. They did not have claws or fangs or armor. On paper, they should never have survived their own planet. Earth was a death world. It had earthquakes and hurricanes and floods. It had ice ages that lasted thousands of years. It had predators with teeth the size of human arms. But humans survived, not because they were powerful, but because they refused to die. Humans remembered things. They remembered every war, every famine, every disaster. They wrote it down. They told stories about it. They passed the knowledge from parent to child, generation after generation. They learned from their suffering. They got smarter. They got tougher. His grandmother had survived the unification wars on Earth. She had eaten rats and slept in ruins and watched cities burn. She told young stories about those times, about how people helped each other even when there was nothing left, about how humans could endure anything if they had something worth fighting for. His grandfather had been a resistance fighter. He had stood against armies with nothing but courage and clever tricks. He taught young that size did not matter. Speed did not matter. What mattered was the will to keep going when everything said you should stop. Now, bleeding on the training floor of an alien space station, called upon everything her ancestors had given her. Grabbed her throat with two of his arms, he lifted her off the ground. His grip tightened. Air stopped flowing to her lungs. "Yield," he hissed. "Yield and I will let you live." Looked into his eyes. Her vision was fading. Black spots danced at the edges. She had maybe 10 seconds before she passed out. She did not yield. Instead, she swung her legs up and wrapped them around one of his arms. She twisted her body with every bit of strength she had left. The angle was strange. The pressure was precise. Another nerve cluster. Another weakness. His fingers went numb. His grip loosened for just a moment, just enough. Dropped to the ground and rolled away, gasping for air. Her throat was bruised. Swallowing felt like swallowing fire, but she was free. She stood up again. Looked at her with something new in his eyes. It was not anger anymore. It was not amusement. It was the beginning of fear. "Why?" he asked. His voice was quieter now. "Why do you keep getting up? You cannot win. You must know you cannot win." Wiped blood from her eye. Her broken shoulder screamed in pain. Her cracked ribs made every breath agony. She was damaged in ways that might never fully heal. She raised her fists anyway. "You do not understand us," she said. Her voice was rough from the strangling but steady. "You see us as weak because we break easily. You see us as prey because we bleed. but that is exactly why you will lose." She stepped forward, toward the monster, toward the pain, toward impossible odds. "We have always been breakable," she continued. "We have always bled, and we have always won anyway, because breaking us is not enough. You have to break our will, and our will does not break." Charged again. Met him. The fight was not over yet. 7 minutes and 43 seconds. That was how long the fight lasted. In Academy records, most fights ended in less than 1 minute. Some lasted 2 or 3. A 7-minute fight was almost unheard of. A 7-minute fight between a warrior and a human female was impossible. But it happened, and everyone watched. Attacked with everything he had, his 4 arms became a storm of violence. He punched and grabbed and slammed. He used techniques taught by the finest warriors of his species. He was faster than any human should be able to follow, stronger than any human should be able to survive. Survived anyway. She did not try to match his strength. That would be stupid. Instead, she used his strength against him. When he pushed, she pulled. When he grabbed, she twisted. She turned his power into her weapon. Every time he lunged, she was already moving somewhere else. But she could not dodge everything. No one could. His fists found her again and again. Her other shoulder got hit and went numb. A kick to her leg made her limp. Blood covered her face so completely that she could barely see. The cadets in the observation deck stopped talking. They stopped moving. They barely breathed. They watched the human girl get beaten. They watched her fall, and they watched her get up, again, and again, and again. Each time she rose, she struck back. A palm to his throat, an elbow to his eye, a kick to the same damaged knee over and over until he started limping too. She was not winning. She was not even close to winning, but she was not losing either. "Stay down," screamed. Sweat and blood mixed on his scales. His breathing was heavy. One of his arms hung useless at his side from the nerve damage. "Why will you not stay down?" Could not speak. Her throat was too damaged, too swollen from being strangled. She just shook her head and raised her broken fists. The 5th minute passed, then the 6th. Was getting tired. There were explosive fighters. They were built for quick victories. Long fights drained them. And this human, this impossible human, kept making him work, kept making him chase, kept making him fight. In the observation deck, something strange started happening. The aliens who had laughed at were not laughing anymore. They were leaning forward. Their eyes were wide. Some of them were shaking. They had never seen anything like this. They had never imagined anything like this. A creature half the size of her enemy, broken and bleeding, refusing to quit. It went against everything they believed about the universe. The strong won. The weak lost. That was how things worked. But this human did not care about how things worked. At the 7-minute mark, saw her chance. Threw a punch with his 2 working arms. It was sloppy. He was too tired for precision. Stepped inside his reach, so close that his fists went past her instead of into her. She was against his chest now. His scales were hard there. His armor was strong, but she was not aiming for his chest. Her fingers found the soft spot beneath his scales at the base of his neck. She had read about it in medical texts, a cluster of nerves that controlled the upper body. In medicine, this spot was protected at all costs. Even doctors were careful when working near it. Was not careful. She pressed her fingers in with every bit of strength she had left. Screamed. It was not a battle cry. It was not a roar of anger. It was a scream of pure pain. His arms stopped working, all 4 of them. They dropped to his sides like dead weight. Stepped back, stood there, unable to move his arms, unable to defend himself. His eyes were huge with shock and fear. "Yield," whispered. Her voice was barely a sound. "Yield now." Looked at her. At this small, broken, bleeding creature who had just disabled him. At the human who should have died in the first 10 seconds. "I yield," he said. The words fell into perfect silence. No one in the training bay moved. No one in the observation deck made a sound. It was as if the entire universe had stopped to witness this moment. Collapsed to his knees, his arms hung useless, his head dropped. He had lost. A noble son of the had lost to a human female half his size. Stood over him. Blood dripped from her face onto the white floor. Her left arm was clearly broken in at least 2 places. Her ribs were cracked so badly that every breath was agony. One of her eyes was swollen shut. Her throat was purple with bruises. She looked up at the observation deck, at the cadets who had laughed while bled, at the aliens who had found human suffering amusing, at the instructors who had done nothing. She did not say anything. She did not need to. Her silence said everything. The medical team rushed in. They went to first, as protocol demanded for the more severely disabled fighter. Another team came for. They tried to put her on a stretcher. She refused. She rasped, her voice was almost gone. "Where is?" "Medical Bay 7, a medic answered. "He is in surgery." Pushed away the medics trying to help her. She started walking. Her broken body screamed in protest. Every step sent waves of agony through her. Blood left a trail behind her. She did not stop. She walked out of Training Bay 9, past the silent crowds, through the metal corridors, all the way to Medical Bay 7. She walked beside's room and sat in a chair outside his door. Only then did she let the medics treat her wounds. She stayed there all night, guarding his door, making sure no one would hurt him again. Inside the training bay she had left behind, the silence continued. The cadets slowly left the observation deck. They did not talk to each other. They did not know what to say. They had seen something that day, something that changed the way they thought about humans, something they would remember for the rest of their lives. They had seen a human refuse to break. The days after the fight were strange and quiet. Woke up 2 days later. His body was wrapped in healing patches that glowed soft blue. Machines beeped beside his bed, monitoring his recovery. The doctors said he would heal completely, though it would take time. Young bodies were good at healing. Human bodies especially. The first thing he saw when he opened his eyes was, she sat in a chair next to his bed. Her arm was in a cast. Bandages covered half her face. She looked terrible. She looked beautiful. "You are awake," she said. Her voice was still rough and scratchy. "What happened?" asked. His memories were foggy. He remembered pain. He remembered laughter. He remembered falling. Told him everything. The fight. The challenge. The 7 minutes and 43 seconds that changed things. Listened with wide eyes. He could not believe it. This small woman had faced a warrior for him, had been broken for him, had won for him. "Why?" he asked when she finished. "Why did you do that?" Looked at him with her one good eye. "Because you are one of us. That is what we do." Outside the medical bay, the academy was changing. The 2 who had helped requested transfers to other stations. They left within a week. No one tried to stop them. No one wanted them to stay. The instructors who had watched beating and done nothing received new orders. They were sent to distant outposts on the edge of known space, teaching positions on border stations where nothing important ever happened. Their careers were over. Himself recovered from the nerve damage after 10 days. He returned to classes, but he was different. He did not bully anyone. He did not laugh at weaker cadets. When he passed human students in the corridors, he looked away, not with anger, with something like shame. He never spoke about the fight. When other cadets asked him about it, he just shook his head and walked away. Some things were too painful to discuss. Some defeats went too deep for words. The Academy Command opened an investigation into what happened in Training Bay 9. They watched the recordings. They interviewed witnesses. In the end, they made new rules. Instructors who failed to stop abuse would be expelled from the Academy forever. Cadets who attacked others outside of formal challenges would face immediate dismissal. It was not much, but it was something. The biggest change was harder to measure. It lived in the way aliens looked at humans now. Before the fight, humans were jokes, small, weak, fragile, a species that had only reached space a few decades ago. Nobody important, nobody worth respecting. After the fight, things were different. Cadets remembered the image of standing over, broken bones, blood everywhere, one eye swollen shut, and still standing, still fighting, still refusing to quit. They started asking questions. They started reading about Earth, about human history, about the wars and disasters and extinctions that humans had survived. They learned about creatures called humans who had killed mammoths with pointed sticks, who had crossed oceans in wooden boats, who had built machines that flew and machines that thought. They learned about the human ability to simply not stop, to get knocked down 1,000 times and get up 1,001, to face impossible odds and say, maybe, but let us try anyway. It was disturbing, it was inspiring, it was terrifying. When finally returned to classes, something remarkable happened. She walked into the main dining hall during the busiest meal hour. Every species in the academy was there. Hundreds of aliens eating and talking and living their lives. They all stopped when she entered. Stood in the doorway, still healing, still bandaged. She looked out at the sea of alien faces watching her. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a cadet stood up from his table. He was one of the ones who had watched beating, one of the ones who had done nothing. He pressed his fist to his chest. It was the gesture of respect for a warrior, the highest honor one fighter could give another. Silence, then another cadet stood, and another, and another. Species whose names could not pronounce. One by one they rose from their seats. They pressed fists to chests. They bowed their heads. They offered respect to the human woman who had taught them something about the universe. Looked at them all. Her face showed no pride, no triumph, just quiet acknowledgement. She nodded once, then walked to a corner table where was sitting alone, saving her a seat. She sat down next to him, picked up her utensils, started eating. "Thank you," said softly, "for everything. I do not know how to repay you." Shrugged, then winced at the pain in her healing shoulder. "Get stronger, get smarter. Graduate, become an officer. Show them what humans can do. That is how you repay me." Nodded, his eyes held a new fire that had not been there before. "I will, I promise." Above them, through the massive window that covered one wall of the dining hall, stars sparkled in the eternal darkness of space. Thousands of stars, millions of worlds, a galaxy full of species who were bigger and stronger and older than humanity. But those species had just learned an important lesson. Humans were new to the galaxy. Humans were small. Humans broke easily and bled freely. And humans won anyway. Not because they were the strongest, not because they were the fastest, not because they had the best weapons or the most advanced ships. They won because they never stopped trying. They won because every time they fell, they got back up. They won because their will was made of something harder than any armor, stronger than any muscle. The galaxy was vast and ancient and full of wonders. It had seen empires rise and fall. It had watched species conquer and species die. It thought it understood the rules of survival. But it had never met anything quite like humans before. Now it had. And it would never forget. In the dining hall of the Galactic Naval Academy, a human woman ate her meal in silence while the galaxy watched with new eyes. They had chuckled while a cadet bled. They would never make that mistake again.